So this is part 2 on why players aren't allowed in towns.
Yep.
So Dwight, what's another reason that they could not be?
Right. So one reason could be that the town is xenophobic. They just don't like outsiders at all.
Outsiders, or you could even, because D&D has the racial things already
Yep.
built in, this could be an elven town and you
Right.
guys have a dwarf in your adventuring party, so
Nope.
you have...
Yeah, the whole party's out because they're dwarf friends or
Yep.
whatever, right?
Or just to the
Dwarf
point
lovers.
of, this is just a local, maybe like 50 people town, and they don't like you coming through here because they had adventurers a
Yep.
couple years ago
Cause
that
problems.
really screwed them over.
Yep. Or that brought disease or brought plagues or tried
Something.
to do like what there were murder hobos and they just killed a bunch of the people in the town.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a couple of years, the town ended up hiring some higher
Yeah.
level people to guard them. And then those people just loved
And-
staying there and everything got
or-
really xenophobic.
or-
so just in case you don't know, xenophobia is the fear of anything that's not like yourself.
Yes.
Basically is the easiest way to say that. There's probably a more technical definition, but being xenophobic just means that like the people you know or the group that you're associated with is the group that you only care about.
Yeah.
So it could be racially motivated. It could be normally xenophobia comes up in like sci-fi adventures where it's like, oh, humans only like humans and they hate these ugly bug things.
Oh,
that are
you're
coming.
Martian, so we're going to have disdain towards you.
Exactly.
But xenophobia could
Could
also
be something very local.
oh,
like-
hey,
yeah.
you like fantasy, playing fantasy sports. I like real sports. I don't necessarily like you. And a very mundane.
Yeah, we hate each other.
Yeah.
And a very mundane thing. But xenophobia in an outright thing would be this. The entire town hates outsiders.
Yeah.
And it could be a level of xenophobia where they're suspicious. They refuse to sell to you. They refuse to... Every inn is booked. No one talks to you.
Or even
unless they
outright
have to.
hostile.
Or it could be outright hostile. As soon as you show up, you all of a sudden see literally the entire town is formed. Like, they have pitchforks, and they have torches, and there's mages literally casting spells in front of you, and you're just like, whoa.
And
you know,
to go with this, the location of the town helps too.
Yeah.
Because if it's on a main trade route between
it's not going to be xenophobic.
any cities, major cities, or any major like nations,
Yeah.
they're not going to be xenophobic.
They can't
In
afford
fact,
to be.
They want your coin.
Absolutely.
But if you're going to grab a farming town that's never visited, that's on the backside of the kingdom, and there might be some lesser known dungeons that have been lost to time, they're at the very least going to be wary or suspicious of you because we don't get adventurers. Why are you here?
It could be like so throwing in the Lord of the Rings. Let's say that you know the cave, the dwarven cave they walk through in the first movie, whose name's just escaping me right now.
The Mines of Moria, I think.
Yeah, the Mines of Moria. Let's say because Moria was like not just mines. I mean, it was a huge living area.
It used to be one of the cities of the
Right.
dwarves.
Yeah. Well, let's say that they unleashed the thing, not the Balrog, but like all the goblins, and they were able to fight them off, and they're still kind of fighting them off. So anybody that shows up at the front door is met with resistance because they're already fighting a war on the inside, and they can't afford to fight another war or even have somebody come in and know what's happening unless they're dwarven. If it's another dwarf, maybe they'll let them in. But if it's a dwarf from a different type of clan that they're not happy with, they won't even let them in. And so that could be a reason why there's a xenophobic thing. And that could create some really cool intrigue for a game.
Yeah.
Where maybe they're xenophobic because there's a secret that the town has that they don't want you to find out about. Not because you can't help it. Maybe you can. Maybe your players are there to actually fix the issue. Like that's the whole adventure. But the people in the town are fighting them every step of the way because they don't want help, or they don't think that you can help, and they don't want your help. And because they've been fighting this problem by themselves for so long, they just don't want to do it anymore.
Actually, that's kind of a fun side quest you could have on.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, while you're trying to hit these dungeons, that's trying to grab whatever you need from it.
Grab the loot.
The town that's there is wary of you and not helping.
Exactly.
And then you can start to find out why.
Why,
And that's a side quest that could have the reward of, well, you helped the town be less wary of strangers.
Yep.
Not necessarily a reward that's tangible,
Well,
but if you go back there again.
Well, maybe, now back to our last episode, we talked about other adventures in a dungeon. Maybe you end up coming across a group of adventurers that have been able to, let's say, I'm going to call it befriend, let's just say pay off a group of like gnolls or orcs or trolls or something. And they're using the dungeon that used to be this adventuring dungeon as this ability to like mount all out wars against the people in the town. And so when somebody else comes from outside, they're like, I don't know if they're going to go join that party, The last thing I need is like 4 other like high level guys, medium, high level for them, right? It doesn't matter who. You can be level 3 and the town's level 2. You're still now high level. But
the last thing I need is another adventuring group on their side.
Last thing I need is 4 more people to come in, right? Because they might have been seeing a string of mercenaries come in right before everything hit and everything changed, and now they're just kind of grasping for life on there.
Yeah.
And so the concept of like, so maybe you do have to circumvent the town. You go into the dungeon, and then you end up cleaning the dungeon out like you're supposed to, right? Like you do exactly what we talked about in the last episode. You take everything from every dust piece you could find in every dark corner of the dungeon, all the way to every gold piece and piece of magical and mundane armor you can find. But in the process, you end up killing the people that were like, going against the town. So when you show back up into town, and they see that you have like the sword of the main guy who's caused all this problem, they go, "Wait a minute. Did you just kill?" And they mention the guy's name, and you're like, "Well, I got his journal here, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that was who he was." And then now you're back to the last episode we talked about. If you didn't see it, just go, check it out. It's reputation score. The reputation score in that town goes up huge, and now they want to deal with you. They're no longer xenophobic. So there's really cool things you can do with it.
Fix their problem.
Absolutely, yeah. You accidentally, because you just kill you're a murder hobo.
So then the next one that we have on here is, so if you have towns, especially in trade cities,
high level towns,
towns on trade cities, the last thing you want is literally everybody has some sort of weapon, has some sort of ability to literally level the town, with a really good.
It's kind of like, if you think about so have you ever seen Romeo and Juliet or read the books? Like, there's literally street fights, where people are getting killed like in the main marketplace. It's like the last thing you want is then to add magic as a component of that, like drunken wizard at a bar casts fireball. No.
So if you're at an adventuring inn and literally everybody there is armed to the teeth in either weapons or spells, the last thing you want is, well, the wizard who was drunk got hit with an axe, and as his last thing, he broke a staff of the Magi and literally just detonated the town.
Because why not?
So that town might, in order for you to enter this town, you're checking your weapons in at the door, and then manacling the mage with manacles of anti-magic.
Right, and so manacles of anti-magic, I don't think made it into 5e, but you can search for them online. They're incredibly expensive. They're a 3.5 item. They're
in the Book of Exalted Deeds.
Yep, on page 116. It's called the Antimagic Shackles. The reason why they're so expensive is they're made of adamantine. If you know anything about 3.5, it's really hard to imbue anything on adamantine. But the reason to do it in adamantine is to stop like the party's brute from breaking them open.
20th level barbarian would have enough strength to rend iron off of the wizard. And then
so adamantine stops.
You'd use adamantine on the wizard, on the 20th level wizard, and nobody can get through it.
But the thing here is, you could literally do something different where you have a collar, right? And it doesn't have to be made of adamantine at that point. And you put the collar on each of these people, and it renders. Maybe they get to keep their gear, but the anti-magic field collar renders anything in the personal space non-magical. So, hey, that +4 Vorpal sword, it's just a long sword. It's not that impressive.
You could even combine this with a Xenophobic Town, where they'll allow you to do business.
Only if we shackle you.
And then having a shackle on you kind of gives you this stigma.
Absolutely. Well, of course it would, because we already know who you are.
So then you can get the same vibe from the original Witcher 1.
Yes.
Where, in the towns, you literally have people cussing you out or screaming at you or spitting at you on the street because you're a Witcher.
There's sometimes I just save the game and try to kill the peasants in the Witcher 1. I was like, I can't take this anymore. But anyway, that said, Witcher's a great example, because in Witcher 1 you had no real reputation. But in Witcher 3, of course, you've killed kings and other things, so you have everyone knows who you are.
The Butcher of Blaviken.
Yeah, everyone knows who you are, right? So it's kind of cool. I mean, they even used it there just in a side quest without you probably even realizing it. But I kind of like the concept of this, major towns that have the money and the equipment. Like, I don't want to proactively have to show up.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not even, maybe it's passive. Maybe the main market area is hit with there's a permanency anti-magic field buried into the road.
I mean the other thing is
anything.
Just because the anti-magic shackles is just
personal.
It's just anti-magic imbued in the item with a permanency spell.
It doesn't have to be any item.
What you could actually have is
a cobblestone.
You could have the local Wizards Guild. Yeah. They're not necessarily powerful enough to do permanency spells.
Yeah.
But all of them can load up their 100 spells worth of anti-magic.
And every day.
And then every single day that the adventurers are there, they have to come back to the Wizards Guild in order to stay in the town. And then they anti-magic for the day.
Yeah. Or it could be that there's just certain stones and certain buildings in that are inlaid that are doing like a 20-foot radius anti-magic field. And so as you're walking down Main Street, you're within one or more overlapping circles of anti-magic, which could be fun too, because then you could try to figure out there's an inch
here,
right here. So if I were to pull a magic bow, it's now the arrow is magical because of where the bow's lying. Because I have maybe more than an inch, but
that's kind of a fun adventure.
Yeah,
having you try to assassinate like the king in the thing, but the whole entire town is surrounded in an anti-magic field.
Or is
but there's certain places
where the circles don't overlay.
And then it's this fun planning thing of, so the king's going to be coming through here. But we know that on top of this building in this spot, there's a place that we can do a fireball or something to hit the king. And then we need to run.
Yeah, and so
with no magic, because we're going to be running through the areas with no magic.
Because there's no magic, right? Yeah. So anyway, there's some cool like heist abilities you can do with that as well. So anyway, we're again out of time. So if you really enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and also just really thank you for your support.
Definitely.
Yeah. Take care.